Hello everyone and welcome to the finale of What If Seaspray Survived. So without further ado, let's get right to it. So we start off with Optimus and his team devising a plan to deal with the current situation of things. Number 1, they must find the Allspark, and they must recapture Starscream so that he may answer for his war crimes. He then says, Ultra Magnus, you will supervise patrols to find and capture Starscream. Wheeljack, I will acquire your extensive experience navigating deep space. Seaspray, you will lead the reconstruction effort. Autobots, roll out. Shockwave and Starscream walk into Shockwave's laboratory, where they then bring online the Predacon. Starscream is then like, most impressive. A bit scared, obviously. Starscream then says, oh, and by any chance do you have a spare T-Cog lying around? Meanwhile, Ultra Magnus and Smokescreen are patrolling the Sea of Rust when Ultra Magnus picks up one signal nearby, so they head there to investigate. They approach with their weapons out, and Ultra Magnus says, Starscream, put your hands up and come quietly. But then it's revealed to be none other than the Predacon. The Predacon attacks them. Since they don't expect it, it actually manages to beat up Ultra Magnus somewhat like in canon. And with the phase shifter, Smokescreen grabs Ultra Magnus and drags him, phasing him through the wall, where they lose the Predacon. Back at the base, Ultra Magnus is put on the med lab, where Knockout and Breakdown attend to his injuries. Smokescreen describes what he saw, and Knockout and Breakdown look at each other. And let's just say they think about it. Who could be creating this? Because Starscream does not have the intelligence to create this. And then they look at each other. Perhaps Shockwave survived somehow. Of course they don't know that. They're just coming up with that conclusion. And that's what's spreading around the Autobots right now. But little do they know they're right. Smokescreen then decides to go to tell Seaspray what is going on. So we cut to Seaspray and Arachnia with the Decepticon miners and the remaining Insecticon hive as they build a landing pad to welcome the returning refugees. Smokescreen arrives and informs Seaspray of what just happened with him and Magnus. Seaspray then is shocked to hear of everything that's happened. He really wants to contact Optimus, but he doesn't want to ruin their mission to find the Allspark and bring life back to their home. So he then decides to take temporary command. Smokescreen then says, what do we do? Since Starscream has this Predacon with him, and most likely Shockwave's back in action from what Knockout and Breakdown have said. They're busy attending to Ultra Magnus's injuries. Just the three of us? I don't think we could handle it. Seaspray then gets in contact with Earth, and soon enough, RC, Bulkhead, and Bumblebee arrive to assist them with the current situation. Arachnia then looks at Seaspray and says, hopefully I could finally make amends with RC. Seaspray then says, prove it to her. Prove that you're a new person. Let's roll out. Now, thanks to information provided by Knockout and Breakdown, they head towards Darkmount. Meanwhile, the Predacon reports back to Shockwave and Starscream. Starscream then says, where have you been, beast? And the Predacon just looks at him and does a little And let's just say there is some energon spilled all over Predacon's claws or something because of him scratching up Ultra Magnus. And Starscream is like, you were ordered to avoid all contact with the enemy, and electrocutes Predacon. Predacon gets mad, and Shockwave orders him to yield. The Predacon then obeys, but still looking at Starscream with hatred. Starscream then says, once we build an army of beasts great enough to eradicate the Autobots, we shall conquer Cybertron in Lord Megatron's memory and name. What I hate, because he's still kind of rogue in this universe, but Shockwave doesn't really know that. Meanwhile, the Autobots are at Darkmount gathering intelligence and map of Shockwave's lab citadel. And we could say that Smokescreen does make a little joke like he did in canon. Lord Smokescreen, Emperor of Destruction. And Bulkhead says, how could you sit there? That's a bad mojo. Because that was honestly one of my favorite parts of the movie. But soon enough, Bumblebee spots something flying in. And it's none other than Unicron Megatron. The Autobots then say, well, Seaspray, you stabbed Megatron through the chest and somehow managed to miss his spark? How is he still alive? Unicron says, Megatron cannot answer you at this moment, revealing himself. And he ends up chasing the team towards the smelting pit, where the same explosion happens, causing Bulkhead to have to hold on to Bumblebee, Smokescreen, and RC. And Arachnia and Seaspray work together to take care of Megacron, Unicron, whatever. Arachnia uses her webs to try to web up Unicron's, arms. But then they turn into chainsaws and cut the webs off. He tries to shoot Arachnia, but Seaspray uses his harpoons to knock his arms and the weapons are aimed in a completely opposite direction, which causes the explosion to make the ground collapse on the 4 Autobots, and they start falling to the smelting pit. But Arachnia uses this opportunity to web the bottom up, and all of them land on the webs. Arachnia has saved their lives. But soon enough, the webs start giving way. Seaspray orders breakdown to activate a ground bridge immediately. Unicron then shoots Arachnia, causing her to fall down onto the pile of Autobots, which causes the web to give way, and they all fall down, but the ground bridge opens up just in time to save them. And Unicron Megatron says, Foolish Autobot, you shall now join your brethren. And Seaspray jumps down like, you got that right. And then, just like in canon, they get away. Grr, I am weak. I shall search this planet for a greater instrument of destruction. The Autobots return to base. And let's just say, Ultra Magnus has been pretty much repaired since it's 2 medics, not 1. So they made a lot more progress in time. This is when RC walks up to Arachnia and actually thanks her for saving their lives, which Arachnia is kind of taken aback by this. Does that mean you forgive me for everything that Arachnia did? RC says, you're not Arachnid, you're Arachnia. And it's a start, with a smile. That is when Seaspray says, what do we do, Commander? Ultra Magnus says, since I have been away from many of these battles lately, right now, Seaspray, you are in command. You may take point. Seaspray then says, alright, let's locate these guys and let's end this. So now we get the Starscream, Shockwave, and the Predacon, where they're at the Predacon graveyard, and just like in canon, Unicron arrives. He fights Predacon basically like in canon in the movie and still beats him. Then he begins to revive the Predacon army into Terracons. Shockwave and Starscream look in fear as the dead Predacons arise. Starscream retreats to save himself and abandons Shockwave to be feasted upon by the beasts. And soon enough, Unicron begins to make his way towards the Well of Allsparks, and the Autobots then pick up Megatron's signal heading there and decide to gather all their forces and make a final stand for Cybertron, for everyone. They will stop this. Everybody meets up to defend the core of Cybertron. Everyone is shooting at the Terracon army, hoping to push it back, but nothing. That is when the Predacon comes out of nowhere. He looks at everybody, and they look at him in defense. But then he looks at the wave and charges, breathing fire at the Terracon wave. But soon enough, he's dragged underneath with the Terracon armada. Everyone then looks down. This is how it ends? But that is when Unicron senses something, a familiar energy. The Allspark! We must keep the Allspark from Unicron's reach. I thought the container was indestructible. Indeed. But if this vessel once trapped the Allspark, I fear that it can also be emptied of it. He then jumps out of Ultra Magnus' ship. Unicron then throws a spear, which takes down Ultra Magnus' ship like in canon. He and Optimus get into a fight. Unicron pins Optimus down and is about to literally beat him to death, but that is when Seaspray uses the Polarity Gauntlet to hold off Unicron. That is when Optimus thinks of a plan on how to keep the Allspark away from Unicron. Optimus then uses the Star Saber to swoosh back Unicron. Optimus then charges at Unicron, hoping to finish him off. But with all his power, he then breaks the Star Saber. He then gets the Allspark ready to drain it, opens it up, but it's empty, and is ultimately sucked into the Allspark. The Terracons all start exploding, and Optimus holds the Allspark. Megatron then wakes up, with Shockwave being the one to arrive. Lord Megatron, are you operational? Indeed, Shockwave. What is the next plan, my lord? Shall we exterminate the Autobots? Megatron then says the same thing, because I now know the true meaning of oppression, and I have thus lost my taste for inflicting it. Shockwave agrees. Then what is our next step, my lord? He then looks to the Autobots. The Decepticons are no more. He then orders Shockwave to follow him. Meanwhile, Starscream arrives at Darkmount. Since Megatron has fallen along with Unicron, I shall gladly revive the Decepticons in my name. He then hears footsteps behind him and is shocked. Lord Megatron, it's so good to see you. I was just keeping your throne warm. Oh no, Starscream. I'm not here to seize thrones. We are merely here to settle some scores. And the three walk towards him. We now cut to Optimus. Keep fighting the noblest of fights, Autobots. He then jumps down, sacrificing himself to bring life back to Cybertron. Seaspray and Arachnia then hold hands, and Seaspray says, "Till all are one." And that is the story of what if Seaspray survived. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this story, and I'll see you guys in what if the Autobot prisoners were executed.